So the next question is, and we answered this question already, but I'll still go over it briefly. As a mobile provider, I am still considered for insurance purposes as an outpatient clinic or private practice, correct? So yes. So as a mobile provider, a mobile therapist, you are considered outpatient, almost like you're in a clinic or you're a private practice. Now, this is something that you will find for all you guys who are in the Uncaged group or who are doing mobile physical therapy. We all know this. You go to a doctor's office and you say, I provide physical therapy in the home, you're home health. They automatically assume that you're home health. So for insurance purposes, when you call an insurance company, it's the same thing. When you call an insurance like Medicare or any other insurance company, do not tell them that you're doing outpatient therapy in the home, because what they'll do is they'll automatically put you under home health and you may or may not get paid. You want to tell them that you do outpatient therapy because that's what you're doing unless you have a home health company. So you want to say you're doing outpatient therapy whenever you call a home health company. Insurance company. A recommendation for doctors, I would tell them the same thing. I would say, outpatient therapy, but we see clients in the home. So I try to not say mobile PT. I try to say outpatient. I try to say private practice. I use all those words so they can kind of understand who we are. And you will know that they know who you are when they say, oh, I've never heard of that. So when I hear that, I'm happy because I'm like, yes, that's good. They understand. If they say, okay, I understand, then I kind of like, I'm kind of worried because I think they still think I'm home health. And I've gotten a few doctors who we talked to, and we got a referral and it says, for home health. And, it's not a big deal, but still, you want to make sure they understand, have a clear message. And if you want to have a clear message, ask David about having clear messages because that's his expertise as a coach.
You know what? I'm going to take a shameless opportunity since you mentioned clarity and messaging. I'm going to take just a brief moment to let those who are watching on the Facebook Live here is a quick little. I said that we'd do this commercial free, but this is for us. All right. Next Thursday, we are Josh, Kevin, and myself. We are hosting a workshop at 8 p.m. Eastern where, getting clarity with your message is one of the things that we're going to be covering. So make sure that you look for the live that I did earlier this morning. They're going to be lives daily promoting the workshop. But if that's something that you're looking to get help with, we're going to do a workshop where we're going to help you get clarity in things like your messages. So, man, you didn't even know it fits, but you just put that big old beach ball on a tee and let me just take a whack.
Exactly. Well, nice. Hey, teamwork makes the dream work. You know what? A great quote that I heard, I was going to say it. This is the perfect time to say it too, is faster alone, further together. So for you guys to know that, you can definitely go faster in your practice, your career when you're alone. The thing is when you have a around you, you can go much more because you won't get burnt out. You have people doing what they do best. So don't forget that. Faster alone, further together. I was trying to put it in somewhere and maybe just knock the other part.
So true. Hey, quick question of what you just covered about I'm glad you brought that up about that you are providing outpatient services. So on the form, because I see this a lot of time, I see people asking, do I put location 11 or location 12? They should put it down as if they are an outpatient clinic. Would that be correct?
Well, for Medicare, so Medicare understands. So for Medicare, we put 12 typically for Medicare, for typical Medicare. Okay. For some Advantage plans that I've seen so far, this is my experience. Some we put 12 and they accepted it, and some we put 12 and they did not. So we had to put 11 because for some reason, some insurances still see 12 as. And by the way, for you guys who don't know, what David is talking about is POS, and POS doesn't mean what you think it means. It means place of service.
Place of service.
Yes, it doesn't mean the other thing that you guys are thinking right now.
A piece of something.
Yes, if your mind is there, get your mind out there. We're clinicians.
I just wanted to clarify for people in case they were struggling, because I know, my boy Steven, who lives down in Austin, Texas, I know he would want to get that twisted. So I just want
So I would definitely say for Medicare, if you're seeing traditional Medicare, you can put 12, is no problem. But for some of these Medicare Advantage plans or even other private insurances, you may have put 11 because they still don't. Some of them still don't have that in their system that being in the home is a thing, or they think that being in the home is home health. So
right.
So
you're still operating from 1970s. And and everything is the world is very black and white. There is no gray with insurance. You fit here or you fit here, and if it's at home, it's home health because that's just how they think. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But I appreciate you covering that topic.
Good. So we have 2 more questions if no one has any other questions. So the next question I have here is, I called to verify benefits on a client. It says Medicare is covering dialysis only. This is a very good question. They're all good questions. I always say that. Does this mean that the patient has Medicare for PT as well? So if you call Medicare or you go online and you say that Medicare is for dialysis only, this means that Medicare is only covering dialysis, like they said. So this means that there's either a managed plan or an advantage plan or another plan that's covering the typical rehab or hospital stays or all those other things. So that would fall under a different part of Medicare, just for the dialysis. So if you see a Medicare for dialysis only, they may have another plan that's covering the other rehabilitation aspects of the plan.
So it requires that you ask if the person asks about insurance and you ask what do you have, it really requires that you ask a few more questions. You don't just take at face value what they say.
And that's a good question. That actually segues me to another question, but I'll bring it up right here. So what are some things you want to ask patients in the home? So in the home is the same for Medicare as in the clinic, but when you're in the home, you have to actually ask different questions than in the clinic. And I'll tell you why. Typically, when a patient comes to the clinic, they're not having anybody else come to their home. They're able to get to the clinic. Now, when they're in their homes, they may have somebody else come into the home. You want to clarify that. You want to make sure there's no other physical therapist. These patients don't understand what you understand. So if they have physical therapy coming to their home and they hear about you with your physical therapy practice, they might say, "Oh, Medicare will pay for both." Medicare may not pay for both. So you want to make sure you ask the patient, is there anybody else coming to their home? That's one of the questions I always ask them. And don't only take face value for that. You want to also check on the system to see if there's anything that's going on. Now, we've had an issue that we're dealing with right now with my company where we've had patients where we've called, and I really think that it's the same home health company. So I'm kind of suspicious about this particular home health company where my contractors have gone to see the patient. We have verified benefits and we have seen the patient is not in home health. And then all of a sudden they're getting recertified for home health. And it's the same company. I don't want to get too much into that. We have had some discussions with the company, actually, to be honest with you, because we think that they're just trying to, poach under us since they know the rules. But yeah, so we've had times where we had a patient actually call us and say, "Hey, this company is here right now, and they say that they can see us with you seeing us, and it won't be an issue." And we're just shut that down real quick. So you want to make sure in the long run that there's no home health company coming to the house. And while you are there with the patient, you want to make sure you constantly ask them, is there anybody else coming to the house? Because sometimes these companies may get started while you're doing your care, and that will mess your care up. You will get a letter from Medicare saying that this patient is under home health. We want our money back. So you want to make sure that there is nobody else in the home.
Very good point. Very good thing. All right, good. Back to the previous question you discussed that we were talking about, Jolene wanted to know, do you always put the POS 12 until you get decline and then change it, or do you recommend just going with POS 11 for the Medicare Advantage plan?
I mean, honestly, Jolene, for the Medicare Advantage plans, you can probably put, I know some people put 11 for everything. They do, and it's not an issue. What I do is I put 12. This is me. I put 12 typically, and if you get denied, then I'll put 11. So far, only United Healthcare is the only insurance so far that we have to put 11 for. All the other insurances we have done 12, and we've gotten paid for. But if you want, I know a lot of mobile practices that do put 11 because I think most insurance companies see 11 as just outpatient. They don't see it as just in the clinic. They see it as outpatient on a whole. Okay. So for Medicare itself, traditional Medicare, I would put 12. But for the Advantage plans, if you want to put 11, it shouldn't be a big deal, Jolene. So very good question, Jolene.
And if you get denied because of location, you can always change the location and resubmit that claim, correct?
That's a good question too. If you get denied for Medicare, honestly, if it's something that's a location or I'm working with somebody right now where they had something incorrect on the form, no big deal. Just resubmit your form correctly. Now, the one thing you want to make sure, though, is you don't want to have too many errors on your forms. So we can talk about this in another topic about audits. So we'll talk about it in another part because that's a whole nother ball game. But you want to make sure you do things correctly for the most part. But if you get denied, it's not a big deal. They will tell you why they denied you. You correct that, resubmit it, you should get paid. 10 days is the typical turnaround time or turnover time. Now, another thing I want to mention, we were talking about home health. Even if a patient has, and I keep saying this because I want you guys to understand this because I have gone through this already. If a patient has a nurse come in once a month just to take vitals, that's all this nurse is doing, you still can't see that patient for physical therapy. So you want to ensure that this patient is fully discharged. And typically, if a nurse is coming just to take vitals, we can do vitals so they can discharge that home health company. You just want to make sure that they're fully discharged from the home health company. And also you want to make sure you can even call, what we do, we call the home health company and ask for the discharge date in case anything happens that we can actually fight Medicare for the money that we got recouped if we had that issue. So this is an interesting question.
All right.
So this question says, hey, Fitz, if Medicare is not primary, does this mean the patient is covered under a Medicare Advantage plan? And this is no. Just because Medicare is not primary doesn't mean that they're covered under a Medicare Advantage plan. So there are a few scenarios, and this is an interesting thing. There's a few scenarios where Medicare is not the primary payer, but Medicare is a secondary payer. So one thing, classic, is auto accidents. Patient is a Medicare age client. They got an auto accident, right? So no fault state, probably got an auto accident. They have PIP. So their injury came from the auto accident. Medicare is not primary in this case because this patient was injured from an auto accident. They have auto insurance. The auto insurance supersedes. Now, Medicare will sometimes pay for the services conditionally. So let's say, for example, you're in an auto accident, right? And the insurance is trying to work things out, but the person needs therapy. Medicare may pay you on a condition saying that once the case settles or the insurance starts to pay, we want our money back. So that's one interesting scenario where Medicare will pay for auto accidents. But typically, if somebody's in an auto accident, Medicare is no longer primary. That auto insurance is now the primary. Another case is work. Patient is 65 years old, but as you know, 65 now is the new 40. People are still working. They're still full-time at their jobs. So let's say that, Joe is, working at a I don't know, grocery store. He's at a grocery store. He's helping with the groceries, packing some things. Unfortunately, there's water flow. He slips and falls on the floor, fractures his hip or something, unfortunately. Now, he fractured his hip, got surgery, he needs rehab. Medicare may or may not pay for that. That may be a workman's comp case. So this may be where the workman's comp case is going to be primary. And you will notice this if you fill out your claim form, they ask you these questions. Has the patient been in the hospital? Has the patient been in an auto accident? They ask these questions because they want to know if they are going to cover the cost. Is Medicare going to cover the cost, or is there somebody else that's going to cover the cost? Okay. Now, here's another interesting one. If a patient is working age, so they're a working age patient, and they or their spouse have GHP or group health, employer group health plan, and the company has less than 20 employees, then Medicare may be primary. If they have over 20 employees, Medicare may be secondary. So when a patient is working, there's some different questions you want to ask just to make sure. But the main things you want to go through, again, so just not to get it too confusing, I think I'm going kind of deep here and I don't want to go in a rabbit hole. But the main things is that workman's comp and auto insurance. If a patient was injured on the job, if a patient was in an auto accident, you want to ask some more questions to see who's going to cover the claim, because Medicare may or may not cover this claim because of those things, okay? So that's just something I wanted to really address, because that was a very good question that somebody asked about.
I love it. And what you were doing there, Fitz, is you You were just setting the stage for another sequel to the series. That's all you were doing.
Another sequel, a trilogy.
A trilogy. You're setting the stage for a trilogy. So
Part 3.
I believe that's all the questions. Is that right, Fitz? Is that all the questions?
That's all the questions. So if you guys have any more questions, that is all the questions. Like I said, for you guys who are in the Uncaged and the Pride group, you get me for free or complimentary, I think. I'm not sure how it works. You get to talk to me. I'm part of the team. So you can talk to me about your Medicare questions or anything you have if you're part of the Uncaged group. If you're not part of the Uncaged group or any coaching groups, remember, faster alone, further together. That's right.
Exactly. The sage words there, Fitz. Sage words. That's right. Fitz, he is part of the team there, the Uncaged Clinician coaching program. If you're in our coaching program, he is available to you to answer all these questions. And I tell you what, everybody who's worked with you, Fitz, they call me and they're like, oh my gosh, that was the best call ever. This man, he knows his stuff and he's great. I mean, look how great this live was. Imagine if it's one-on-one with you, how awesome it is. So anyway, hey, thank you so much, Fitz, for your time tonight. I do appreciate it. I'm David Bayliff, Uncaged Clinician. Again, if you're listening via the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're on live, thank you for tuning in live. If you're catching a replay, make sure you comment #replay. Everyone, have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, guys.